Hello, Bulldog Nation. Welcome back to Bulldog Breakdown with Coach Rocco. We've just come off really, I guess we could call it a historic win over Amherst. We had a history-making field goal, from what I understand.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome. We not only won, but it was a bruising win over a well-coached team.
Very good.
And so I'm excited. We want you to join us every week right here on Bulldog Breakdown. Buckle up. We got a jam-packed show today with Coach Rocco, a really incredible young man that we're going to feature as far as our player of the week. And then we got some special segments that you won't want to miss, so stay tuned. All right, Bulldog Nation, if you have ever wondered what's going through the mind of Coach Rocco on the sideline, I know I do, walking up and down, saying a bunch of things, and then, boom, we win football games. That's what we're doing right here. We're going to call this the film room. We're going to take a look back at our game against Amherst County that took place on Friday. You're in a treat. Coach, welcome to the film room. This isn't your typical film room, but
that's fine.
I can't think of a better place than to be right here. So congratulations on a great game. It was a wonderful game to watch. What I noticed, and I'm not a coach, but I did notice there's some things to be improved upon. Obviously, some things that you probably saw in the film. But it was, before we even get into that, it was really cool to see the stands here at Bulldog Stadium filled again. This is game 2, not the opener. But how did that feel to walk out and see a packed stands once again?
It is great, and it's what I always knew that Bulldog Nation could be, and had probably always been. Even when we were over at Williams Stadium, we probably had this crowd, but it was just spread out so much through 30,000 seats. It didn't always look like much. But now you put that same number in a stadium that's made for that number, and it all of a sudden you have an atmosphere and standing room only.
Yeah. I don't know about you. I feel there's some tradition already starting to build from the Bulldog Walk when they come across, and our students, I think, are enjoying some of that. So this was a big win. Amherst County, we talked about it last week coming in. There was some keys that you had, that I feel that you obviously told the boys.
Right.
How would you assess the team's overall discipline last week against Amherst?
Yeah, it was a very big win for us. They were a tremendously athletic team, very well coached. Coach Chris Moore there is first year there. Came out of the college ranks, and I mean he knows the game, and he did a couple things that would cause teams issues that we had to adjust to and what have you, special teams wise specifically, but both offensively and defensively they're a very well coached team, and I told him after the game, I mean they are doing the right thing and very much heading in the right direction, and don't want to play them 2 and 3 years down the road for sure.
Right.
But I really feel like for our guys, it was maybe our most complete game to this point. To be able to beat a really good team by that margin, is testament to how things played out. And so it was pretty complete, and we're very thankful and just praying right now that we can stay the course and not get big-headed and that kind of thing. We want to be blue-collar, humble young men.
Yeah. The team jumped out to a really quick lead. I mean, and it really extended that lead to the point of where guys like Gideon Davidson get pulled from the game.
Right.
How do guys like that, how do your starters feel when they don't get as much playing time? And how does that impact us down the road toward the end of the season?
Well, when you get into these kind of games, I mean, it's actually a positive, whether the young men feel that way or not, but, to be able to get your second teamers experience and get them playing time is very valuable for their development, number one. And then number two, it really can rest and save your starters a little bit of wear and tear, as the year goes on. We only have 30-some kids. Hopefully it's a long season for us. You got to keep some tread on the tire and find a way to keep guys fresh as long as you can.
Yeah. Speaking of second teamers and different guys getting in, by my count, I saw that there were 7 guys that carried the ball, whether it was a end around or everything. 7 guys had at least one carry. That's pretty cool. What's it like for team morale when so many players get that opportunity to play? How do they enjoy that?
Great question. I mean, we talk a lot about we utilize a lot of different personnel groups, meaning we could have 4 receivers on the offense on a given play, but then we could have 2 tight ends, 2 receivers, or we could have 3 tight ends, 1 receiver. We could have 2 running backs, a fullback and a tailback. So if you add up all of the numbers of players that actually have a vested interest in being a starter per se, they might be a starter in one position group, but they're not in another position group. And in a given night, it may be a game where you got to use 4 wideouts to beat this team. Well, then the guys that play tight end, fullback, and other positions, they may not be playing a whole lot that night because it takes the 4 wideout position group to win this game. So our guys hopefully understand that whatever it takes to win the game on that given night, whatever the position group is necessary, I'll sit the bench or wait my turn because probably the next week we're going to be more 2 tight ends and a fullback and doing whatever. So I think it's kept most of our guys feeling invested in what the outcome is going to be and the contribution.
I like talking about guys sometimes that maybe don't get a lot of call-outs. We had a really pretty cool moment. I think it was toward the end of the third quarter, actually right at the switch of the quarters when Pettit lined up for a field goal.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know until they announced it over the speaker that Ryan Pettit had the longest field goal in LCA history.
Yeah, 43 yards. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, you have to call, let's go ahead and kick it.
Yeah.
That's never been done.
No.
We've never been much of a, hey, let's kick it. It's like, let's keep running it down.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, I mean, he has really continued to develop leg strength over the years that he's been in the program here. And, the other thing that went unnoticed is very rarely in a high school game do you see more than 1 field goal made. Well, he made 2 that night. He made an earlier field goal as well. So that was a special moment for our kicking group. And Coach Steve Moon, who works with them, has done a really nice job, with our kickers and developing them and feeling that we have the confidence to go ahead and try one at 43 yards. But yeah, that was a lot of fun and rewarding him and our offense for, we move the ball into scoring territory. And if you feel like, hey, we get to the 30-yard line, let's give it a shot, and we got points out of this. I mean, it just makes you that much more dangerous to feel like if you just get in that end of the field, that's points for you.
Yeah, so something builds confidence going into games where you have to get a 40-yard field goal. You've seen it done before. Hey, that's some incredible insight. I know that it's weird watching it from the sideline, not knowing everything that goes into it. So it's neat to hear that. That's really the end of the film room. We're gonna take a moment and then we're gonna come back with this week's Player of the Week.
Yes,
I think you guys are gonna like to meet him. All right, Bulldog fans, we're moving into the next segment, something that we're calling Spotlight on the Sidelines, a place that you're not a whole lot. It's where we get to know the players that are making headlines, and you probably hear their names. Today, we got a young man with us that I know you don't brag about yourself a whole lot, so I'm going to brag a little bit. You put up some video game-like numbers, bro. I mean, it's crazy. Gideon Davidson. Before we dive into the numbers, we're going to hear about the man himself. I want to talk to you a little bit. How you doing, Gideon?
Pretty good. I'm good. How are you?
You look a little tired. I don't get it.
Yeah,
it's like you've been running or something.
Yeah.
Gideon, a lot of people have questions. A lot of people love to get to know you. They get to watch you. And some of them don't get the privilege to hear from you. So I want to ask you a couple questions. First of all, congratulations on a spectacular game.
Thank you.
It was pretty great to watch. But I do need to ask, right off the bat, what's going through your mind? You had some really long runs,
yes,
right?
Sir.
At what point in some of those runs do you realize I'm taking this to the house? Or is it like the moment you get the ball, you're like, I'm there?
I'll just say when I read my blocks right and I know what the defender's going to be moving to and trying to block, I just read it right, and that's when I know. So, yeah.
So you see that lane. Does it kind of open up for you?
It does, yes, sir.
Okay.
The linemen do a very good job of making gaps and holes for me to run through.
All right, so you're responsible in the first 2 quarters, 6 touchdowns. Like they just kept coming. That's more touchdowns than most people score in a season. Coach, that's more than I scored in a lifetime, you made it look easy, but what makes it possible for you, like, to just keep going? I mean, that's a lot of running in a short amount of time.
I would say my O-line, they do an amazing job of moving the defensive linemen and allowing me to read the keys. And I'd also credit my brother Josh on the sidelines. He's very motivational and keeps me in line, keeps me level, and he just allows me to play. So
that's awesome. Coach, 6 touchdowns, that's a big deal. For you, just watching him, what maybe for you stood out as the most impressive part of Gideon's game this last week?
Well, I mean, Gideon had 5 touchdowns in the first half last week, too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's had 11 touchdowns in literally 4 quarters of football. I mean, that's an amazing statistic in itself. But, you know, it's like we talked last week just about Gideon's balance, his ability to run with a base. You know, so many fast people run with their feet together and long striding. Well, Gideon has the ability to run with a little bit of a base, and that gives him a balance for sure, but then he's also so strong that you really just can't knock him off his feet. And runs low to the ground, and he's shiftiness and whatever. I mean, he's as complete of a running back as I've been able to be blessed to coach, and he's got really good hands as well, and we're really trying to work on that even more, getting him involved in the passing game out of the backfield. And so it's just fun to be able to have this piece of clay, you know, and to start developing and expanding on what he can do. And I mean, everything that we put in his path, he does very well. So it's thank you to have, Gideon as a Bulldog. We're very thankful.
Yeah, that's cool. Hey, I love to hear when people start talking about your success, you start lifting up other people. Obviously, I love watching the line, man. The moment that ball snapped, the coach said last week that they're starting to get a little nasty. Within the whistles and stuff, but they're a little nasty. So I'm going to give you an opportunity. Anyone on the O-line that you'd like to give a special shout-out to? Yeah.
My entire O-line. I mean, I can't do it without either one of those 5. So.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, they all working together.
Yes, sir.
Mechanized unit.
There were a couple times the other night where, I mean, Gideon got the ball, and he got into like the 3rd level of the defense before he was even touched or even challenged. And then Gideon would make the safety miss, and then it was gone. You know, he was gone. But our line is doing such a nice job on that 1st and 2nd level that we're getting him deep into the secondary before he even has to make a move almost, you know.
Yeah, so that maybe allows you to lift your eyes up a little bit to make that. That's awesome. Yeah. Tell me about your relationship with some of the other guys that are in the backfield. I see Reagan back there and some of those other guys that are like, what's that like playing alongside of them?
Oh, it's amazing. I love, teaching, Jaden Cowart back there. He's a new guy, so I love, including him and teaching him. And I also love Jelly and Eli Castaneda. They're both, I've known them for a very long time, and I'm glad they're back there. We're great friends, and we connect very well. So. You
guys celebrate together.
Oh, yeah.
Success.
Sir.
That's great. The last few years have been really an incredible ride. A lot of fun, but a lot of eyes turned towards you, and the coach mentions the recruiting process, and not too long ago, we got to celebrate right across the road here as you committed to Clemson. And, I mean, that's a big deal for a young man your age. Tell me a little bit about what do you do to help keep your head level and keep a sense of humility that it seems like you walk with? How do you do that?
Well, during this process, I've just learned to, enjoy it, have fun, learn. And I've definitely done that. I mean, I've gone to some of these high-level programs where the coaching staff and coaching program is very good, and I've just learned to enjoy it, be excited about it, not let it get to my head, just learn from it and move on from it. So
do you enjoy the idea of playing at a large school? Tell me your excitement about going to Clemson. What's that excitement level look like for you?
I'm excited to play with new players, new teammates, and nothing against Coach Rocco, but also new coaches. I'm just excited about just experiencing that high level program, high level coaching, and that college feel and college experience, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you talk about, instructing and kind of leaving a little bit of legacy with Jaden Coward and some of those guys and stuff. You're not only a football player, but you're a student. One of the neat things to leave behind is a lesson on how do you balance being a student and everything you have to do academically, but also everything that you've had to do physically in the preparation. How do you balance that?
Well, I'd just say, those two they're kind of connected. I work out and do my, strength and conditioning during school. And I just, try to, put those two together and make time for each other. Can't just focus on one, because if I do that, I'm going to slack on the other. So,
right.
Yeah.
It's a tough balance. Coach, before we let Gideon go, it's not just his athleticism that makes an impact on this program.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how he fits into the Bulldogs' broader character, like the character building program? How does he fit that mold?
Yeah, I mean, I used the word humility, humble before. I mean, Gideon is, if anybody, as a 16-year-old kid, 17-year-old kid, how old are you?
17.
17. Has to deal with all the pressures of making a lifetime decision at that early age, and being wined and dined and told you how good you are and how great you are. I mean, the average teenager, it would blow their minds, And Gideon has always stayed very level-headed. His dad and mom are tremendous in leading him in that direction. His brother, as he mentioned, Josh, comes on the sideline and is kind of like his own little personal coach on the sideline. And it's just a family affair for them. It really is. And we've been very fortunate to have all three brothers. I can remember when Gideon was like in third grade here up in the elementary PE class, I'd come down and I'd look and see, all the things that people would say about this little athlete down in the PE class. And it was like, man, I can't wait to get our hands on him, And so it's been a long time coming, and we're just so appreciative of the Davidson family. And we're looking forward to Gideon going and representing Bulldog Nation, at the next level, and he will do that well.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
That's pretty cool. Hey, Bulldogs, Gideon Davidson. All right, Bulldog fans, it's time to close this episode. It's nice being with Gideon. He could have closed that thing out for us. He could probably run this for us at a certain point. But here we're going to look to our future. You can't rest on a 62-10 win very long before you look and see we got Heritage coming at us. This week it's all about this showdown, and this is kind of a big deal for us as fans, because the last time that we saw Heritage line up against us, they put an end to our season. I don't want to talk about that too much. I don't believe in luck or anything like that, but this game has been circled on my calendar from the time that it came out, and so I'm really excited. We're going to be over at City Stadium, 7 o'clock on Friday night, and I'll tell you what, it would look really great if that crowd that was in this stadium showed up over there. It'd be pretty intense. But speaking of, now we're back in town. We're playing teams across the town. How would you characterize, I don't want to say the word rivalry, but it comes up. That's kind of what you said. We're in this to start developing some of these rivalries. Right. How would you characterize the rivalry between LCA and Heritage, and what makes this matchup really special?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the fact that they are such a good program year in and year out is what makes it special, I think. And I mean, we feel we're working ourselves into that kind of same title. And it's funny because Brad Bradley, he's their coach. A lot of people probably think that he and I don't get along very well, but I get along with everyone, number one. But then number two, we're actually very, very good friends. I respect him a great deal. When we have conversations, they're always very respectful. We've actually done some things together, riding up to the All-State meeting last year together, and really got a chance to get to know each other closely. And I enjoy the guy. I mean, I love his intensity, his antics, his passion. And so, when you talk about a rival, a lot of times I think it's, because you respect something, you know, and you want it to bring the best out of you and your team. So that's what I think this game is, for now multiple years. it's either been us or it's been them,
Yeah.
And it could be that same way this year. There's, the Seminole District is very difficult, but we look at Heritage as being that type of team that's going to be there every year.
Coach fans got to stir stuff up.
Yeah.
They gotta make it interesting. But yeah, he does run a great program,
Yeah.
and it is fun to watch him coach. Last year, each team won a game.
Yeah.
LCA wins the regular season, and then Heritage comes in and wins the playoff, and really tight, contested, nail-biting games. Pretty awesome. How do past performances like that, how do those two games play into your preparation this year?
Yeah, I mean, we'll look back over the tape of those games to see how they might have, played us in certain defensive situations, and maybe give us an insight on what to expect this year. Same thing on the other side of the ball too. So in special teams, so that we always do comb through the film on previous year's games. Just the way the year ended that last year, gives you motivation, and it's not a bitter thing, it's not a vindictive thing. It's just like they were the team that knocked us out, and honestly, if you remember last year, we played the last 4 games of the season without Gideon. And those running backs that we were talking about that all have a chance to carry the ball, we were running all 3 of those guys in games down the home stretch in the playoffs, and so we kind of limped to the finish line last year, although we still had great success. And even the game that we lost to Heritage, we threw a Hail Mary pass into the end zone when time expired, and if we catch it, we win the game. It falls into the ground, we lose the game. And so it went right down to the wire, even regardless of who was playing and who not. So, I mean, it's a good, closely contested rivalry that I would expect to be the same this year.
So I've been asked this because there's a lot of people watched last week, and they really want to ask some questions,
Yeah.
but I don't want to ask you to give anything away. But when you think of their strengths, when you think of Heritage and what they're going to throw at us, watching the film, they lost a close one to Jefferson Forest.
Right.
What are some things that you're seeing that maybe we as fans in the stands, we can watch and kind of expect? What are some strengths that they have, and without giving too much away, how do you plan on taking them on?
Brad does such a good job of taking his personnel and then adapting his offensive, specifically philosophy to what his talent level is and what type of talent they have. We've played them years where they've had 300, multiple 300-pound linemen and big fullback type of guys, and they just pound it up in there. And then we've played them years where they're more just skill, quick, athletic guys, and they spread it out and try to get the ball out, and you got to tackle slippery, athletic guys out in space. This year is that. This year is more. They're going to spread it out. They're going to get the ball out there, and you got to corral a quick guy, and so that's going to be something that we're going to really work very hard on this week, much like what we did against Amherst in many ways on Friday night. But we'll be working very hard on setting edges and pursuing the ball properly and proper pursuit lanes and things like that.
All right, so before we finish, what would you like to say to Bulldog Nation to encourage them? I mean, you are the coach.
Yeah.
They got to listen to you.
Yeah.
What would you say to encourage them to come out and hang out for the game?
Yeah, I mean, I just think every game this year is going to be pivotal to how the success of this team ends up. And, in this district, the Seminole District, everybody can beat everybody. And if you take one night off, you're going home with a loss. So I know how our team responds to the great crowds that we've had here at home. I would very much encourage you to continue to be on the bandwagon with us, because this is going to get really fun for all of us, the whole Bulldog Nation, if things continue this way. I mean, we've been very fortunate to play for state championships and region championships and whatever, and we'd love nothing more than to celebrate something big like that with this whole community. And so please continue to come out and support and make yourselves loud and known in the stands.
Coach, I appreciate your insight. This is really good. Hey, clearly this game against Heritage is more than just another matchup. I mean, there's history building. There's a lot of talent. There's a lot of heart on both sides. The Bulldogs are 3-0, and with something special brewing, I see it. So you don't want to miss it. Friday night, 7 o'clock, City Stadium right here in Lynchburg. Be early and make sure you sit on our side and get loud. It's going to be awesome. Hey, Bulldog Nation, this has been Bulldog Breakdown with Coach Rocco. Go Bulldogs.
Thank you.